Good morning. Good morning. Thank you guys for the patience there. I just wanted to get back to my office since I didn't have any in person. I've got my two screens up, so I'm looking at you guys right now, but most of the time it'll look like I'm looking at you. So if it
Okay.
looks like I'm looking away, I'm just looking at my other screen. So we got four of us, probably have maybe one or two more joining. A couple people may pop into my office, but we'll spend about 15 minutes and go over kind of the basics of a CMA and start doing one and kind of see where we are at noon. So does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Yes. Do you need
Y'all are my only participants, so y'all gotta give me some feedback while we're going through this. So don't be afraid to unmute and turn your cameras on since we're going basically all Zoom. So getting in and doing a CMA, typically there's a few reasons why I would do a CMA or a comparative market analysis. First is if I'm working with a seller. So this morning I've got one that I'm actually gonna have us practice on that's for a listing I'm about to do. And so this one I'm going to be looking at potentially what I'm going to list this property at or what the seller will list it at. I'm just going to, what I would advise the seller to list it at. Second main reason why I would do a CMA is for a buyer. Sandra, you wrote an offer yesterday.
Yes, I did the CMA for
How
them.
quickly should we have that listing done? So I'll do a CMA for a buyer. I've given the little example of if for whatever reason something goes wrong and you end up in front of a judge over a transaction, one of the first things that judge is going to ask your client, whether it's a buyer or a seller, is did your agent prepare a comparative market analysis? In other words, did you have a buyer write a home without giving them any advice on what they should offer in terms of looking at the market? So even though we know that, the market's really hot, I may go show a home this afternoon up in Plano. It's priced at $325. Clients love it. They say, we'd like to write an offer. And I call the listing agent. I call Kathy. It's her listing. And she tells me, we've got a deadline of 5 p.m. today. We got multiple offers on it. And the home's been on the market for 1 day. I can pretty much assume the home is going to go for above list price. However, I still need to run the comparables, do a CMA, and figure out whether they've got it priced correctly. Even though I know the market's hot and that they're probably going to sell it for $325 or more, I still need to confirm that. There's a chance maybe they've got it overpriced, or do they have it extremely underpriced? And I know offers are going to be ridiculous compared to the list price. I've come across that where I went and viewed a house. I'll never forget. It was my first year. I went out, viewed a house with he was a gentleman from Russia, real big guy, burly man. And we went and looked at this house. It was priced at $250. And it was a 4-bedroom, over 2,500 square feet house built in like 2014. And everything else in the neighborhood was selling in the fours. And this one was priced at $250. So, we thought we had just found this secret, like somebody made a mistake and we found it. So we're going to jump on it. And I was so excited. This is one of my first buyer leads. And so we're just, me and this big old burly Russian guy, we're just like high-fiving, talking about all the vodka we're going to drink when we get this house and how much profit he's going to be able to make when he sells it. Because it was undervalued by $150,000. And so I'm thinking we are about to get the steal of a century. I called the listing agent and let him know, hey, I've got a buyer. We are going to write you an offer. And we're thinking we're going to come in full price. And he kind of laughs and he goes, I have 70 offers on the home. This agent was one of the agents, and you may come across this, that will basically just throw a price on it and let the buyer's agents figure it out. And so when I did the comps, kind of realized this thing's going to sell for $400,000. I couldn't convince my buyer that a home priced at $250 needed to have an offer price of $400,000. So we ended up not submitting an offer. Checked back later, about 30 days later, once that home had closed, and it did. It sold for about $410,000. So
isn't that illegal? You're
put a price on a home just to kind of let everybody else figure it out. That's kind of lazy, doing a disservice to the seller, in my opinion, but you'll come across that. So you still always want to do a comparative market analysis. So I'm gonna get in and share my screen.
Hunter, can you hear me?
I don't think he can. Hunter, can you hear Kathy?
Beautiful. So you guys will be watching. So the first two things I do when I'm about to start to do a CMA is
Maybe
I
his
need to
volume
pull
is
up
down.
the listing, and I also pull up the tax records. Now, why do I want the tax records? Oh, and Lauren, on your question, I'll get with you after class. But I know you had asked kind of how quickly does a listing, if somebody's ready to list their home, it takes on average about a week to get a listing prepared, even if the home is pretty much ready. How quickly are they able to have it in show ready state? How quickly can I get a photographer out there? I don't ever want to put a listing on incomplete. So, it's going to take me a day to do a CMA, kind of run the numbers and get with them. Probably early next week before I can get a photographer out there. So if I met with the seller in the next day or two, I might ask if I can't hear you guys.
Okay.
Let's try now.
Yeah, we've been talking to you. You're just ignoring us. Like you don't even
I've had mute on the whole time. I'm like, this is gonna be a really quiet class.
What is going on?
I love it.
Did I miss anything important?
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you said that he listed it for $250, but the house was really worth $400, that's not illegal. I mean, when you do that, I mean, you're literally playing with the client.
Yeah, like I said, it's dirty. I'm not a fan of it. You could list a house for $1. Nothing says you have to list a home within 90% of its appraised value, or, so you can put it up for 1 cent and let the buyers just kind of figure it out. I think like I said, I think it does a disservice to the seller, because you could potentially be leaving, thousands of dollars on the table. And I think it treats buyers very poorly. What if you went to go buy a new shirt today and you walked into a store and they had them all just priced at $1 and said, when you get to the register, we'll kind of figure out what the price is at that point. Yeah, I've done some online shopping, and some items will have the price and others say add to cart to see price. That pisses me off. I want to know what the price is. I'm not adding it to my cart. I want to know what it costs. That's going to determine whether it goes in my cart or not. So yeah, it's a dirty trick. I don't see it much, but it's something you may come across. If you're seeing a home that, you think is just an extreme steal, it may be one of those situations. Because yeah, I thought I had cracked a code and found the greatest purchase of all time. And turns out so had 70 other agents. And yeah, it made it really tough on me as a buyer's agent because I couldn't get my buyer to write an offer over 250. Because he's like, bro, the list price is 250.
Because it would be funny if everybody just, wrote a price at 300 or 250.
Exactly.
You're really screwing the seller.
Yeah, that's why I say, I mean, you could be leaving thousands of dollars on the table. So it is not a strategy I would ever recommend anybody employing, but it happens out there. So. Okay. So I'm going to go into Netra's. First thing I do is I go in, and so I've got this seller. She's given me her address. I know where she's hoping to sell. We've actually already purchased her next home. So now we need to price the home that she's just moved out of and see what it might sell for on today's market. Now, this is just an estimation. It's not an exact science. As I mentioned in Ignite, if I brought in 15 different instructors to teach this class, you may come up with 15 different ways to do this. So this is going to be the Hunter Webb and Jan Webb way, but you may learn from other agents different tips and tricks and decide which method works best for you. So the first thing I do is I come in and I go into the search feature and I want to pull up any previous listing. So her address is 4006 Rochelle Drive, and that's in the city of Dallas. So I come in and I run a search for 4006 Rochelle.
Why did your screen look like that?
Look
You
like
went in-
what?
So you say you under search, did you go into quick search or just search?
I just went to search. So right at my home page, I've got this little search feature here. Yours is probably hidden somewhere on your page. You could also go to history and look it up there. So if I went to history, so it's got a bunch of different ones, but I want to go to the most recent listing. So you'll learn how MLS numbers work, but basically they go up. So I can see, they're all a 7-digit number. So they're all 1 million something. Well, the most recent is going to be the highest number. So 1,303,524. In other words, MLS number 13034524 is the most recent. I can also look under the change date over here in the middle and see that, okay, some of these were listed. This home was originally listed in 05, then again in 09, and then my buyer bought it in 04 or in 14. And so I'm going to pull up the MLS listing for number 4, for the one that was most recent. And then I print a copy of this MLS sheet out for when I'm doing a CMA. So I've got, right now in my hands, I've got a printed out copy of the CMA. Reason why is I want to, sometimes I like to go back and I like to look at pictures and see kind of what the home looks like, especially if I haven't been out there and I'm doing the CMA without seeing it. Now, I know my client's done quite a bit of updating. So when I got on the phone with this client, one of the first questions I asked was, what have you done to the home since you purchased it? I know she's taken out all the carpet, put in new hardwood floors, painted the whole home, updated the fixtures, updated the backyard. So she's done quite a bit of updating to it. But at least I've got a good idea of kind of what the property looked like when she purchased it. So I always ask a client, potential seller on the phone, since you've owned the home, what updates have you done? Knowing that I'm hopefully going to be able to go back and look at the past pictures on the MLS if it was listed. Not every home is listed, and not every home will you be able to find a history in a previous MLS sheet. So if that's the case, say I couldn't find this, I would go over to the Dallas Central Appraisal District, and I'm going to search by address. And have this pull up. I know my seller is Rebecca Foster, so I know it's this one. And I'm going to pull up the tax records, and I print a copy of the tax records as well. So I've already got my printed out tax record and my printed MLS sheet. Now, why would I want a copy of the tax record? Well, the tax record gives me some decent information about the home. It will show me year built. So I know this home was built in 1951. It will show me the square footage under living area here. It's 1,329 square feet. Shows me how many stories. It's a 1-story home. It's on a pier and beam. Got composition shingles. It even shows me on the tax records over here how many bathrooms, kitchens, bedrooms, fireplaces. And so it gives me the basic stats of the home. So if they weren't previously listed on the MLS, I can still get the basics of the information I need to do a CMA. It tells me up here under legal description, I now know which subdivision it's in. I like to search by subdivision, so that gives me that. And so I'm going to print out both the tax record and the MLS sheet. I then get a highlighter. So I keep a physical copy. I like to be able to write on stuff. But so I get a highlighter and I typically highlight some of the main stats on the MLS sheet. So I highlight the address. I highlight the name of the subdivision. I highlight bedrooms and bathrooms. Now, but I'm really only going to pay attention to the bathrooms. I've discussed how, like, when I do a CMA, bedrooms doesn't matter as much to me. The reason being, bedrooms are kind of how you use the square footage. For example, the office I'm in, if our office decided we wanted to double the amount of offices we needed, we could certainly double our square footage. That would cost us quite a bit of money. What another option we could do is basically come in and put drywall up and just add an extra door. So if a contractor came in here, he could just add some drywall and basically build a wall down the middle of my office and add another door. And now he's turned it into 2 offices. But has he really added a lot of value to the building? I don't think so. He's just taken the existing space and kind of repurposed it. So now instead of having kind of larger executive suite style offices, we've got a little bit smaller, tighter quarters, but more usable offices. So we gained something in terms of number of offices, but we lost something in terms of bigger size offices. Same thing with bedrooms. If I've got a 3-bedroom house, I could have, subdivided it and turned it into 4 bedrooms. They would have just been smaller rooms. So bedrooms is just, to me, more how you're using the square footage, not actually the value of the square footage. Whereas a bathroom, I'm going to be installing plumbing fixtures. I've got to make sure that I can get fresh, cold, and hot water into that room. Have a sink, have a commode, have a shower, have a bathtub. So build a vent. You're required to have a vent in a bathroom. So there's some costs associated with a bathroom. So that's going to provide value. Bathrooms are something buyers look favorably upon, having extra bathroom options. If you've ever lived in a 1-bathroom house with your girlfriend for a year, it will drive you crazy. I speak from experience. All our homes in the West Coast were all 1 bathrooms. So that was fun. So we're glad to have a second bathroom. I actually have my own bathroom, so we don't have to compete when it's time to go to work, and she's got to do her thing. I got to do my thing. So I highlight bathrooms, highlight living areas. I highlight stories. Does it have any fireplaces? Dining areas 1, no pool. I highlight the square footage. So it's 1,329 square feet. I highlight the year built. Is it in an HOA? This one's voluntary. I can look at the lot dimensions. I then will also pull up the tax records. And one of the things I'm looking for on the tax record that I can get is I'm looking for the land value. So the total assessed value, when I go over here to the tax records that we're looking at, let's see. So it shows me up here on the right-hand side under value, 2020 certified value up here on the right side. Improvement, $78,170, and land value, $275,000. Everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
So land value, especially down in like Dallas, it may be big. Because if this home's got an extremely high land value and one of my comparables I look at, it's got a $50,000 lot value, that's a difference. It's a major difference. And so we'll want to keep that in mind as we go through and look for comparables. But basically, I'm highlighting all the main stats I'm going to want to compare other homes to. So that's how I start my CMA. Then we're going to come back over to Netris. And we're going to start our search. So I go into the quick search, residential search. And I'm going to start off by, I go ahead and select coming soon. I don't necessarily use it for comparable sakes, but I want to see is anybody else already coming on the market in the near future. I go ahead and I also select canceled and expired. They aren't necessarily a good indicator of price, but sometimes if I can find a canceled listing that was way overpriced, that's something to show a seller. Why would you want to show a seller a expired listing that you think was overpriced? What would the purpose of that be? Anybody? Bueller? So the reason I might show them an expired listing that was overpriced was to show them what happens if we miss the price. That homes in your neighborhood are selling, Mr. or Mrs. Seller. However, we've got this one listing over off of Rochelle Drive that they listed for $500,000 when everything else was selling for four to 425, and they were on the market for 180 days and they did not sell their home. So that can be a reason to show an expired listing. So keep that in mind. So I go ahead and pull expired, and then I collect pending and sold. Now I start off with the solds from 0 to 90 days. That means any homes that have sold in the last 90 days. However, if I'm unable to find comparables in the first 90 days, I may go out 180 days. I try to stay within that 180 days. I very rarely will pull a full year, just because home prices can dramatically change over a year. It's not uncommon in the DFW area to see a 4 to 5% increase or decrease in a year. That's not always the case, but it definitely can happen. And so if a home, changes values by 5%, and I'm using a comparable from a year ago, my numbers are going to be a little off. $300,000 home at an extra 5%, that's an extra $15,000. That's significant money. So you want to make sure you're trying to keep your comparables as tight as possible. Basically, I'm looking to, if I can, go apples to apples. In other words, I want to find homes that most recently sold in the same neighborhood that are very similar to my home. Unfortunately, a lot of times I cannot find apples to apples, but I can find some oranges. And that's what we're going to talk about today is what do I do with oranges to turn them into apples? So if I haven't confused you with my fruit analogies yet, just hang on to your seats. So the first thing I like to do is start by subdivision. So my comparable property is in, and actually, hold it up. 3, 4, 5, 2, 4. 3. I'm going to print this as a PDF so we can reference it as we go. All right, now I'm going to get back to search. All right, so I can see over here, subdivision name is Glenridge Estates. So I come into the subdivision search and I start with the little asterisk and type in the neighborhood. Why do I do the asterisk? Well, the asterisk in case there is like Glenridge Estates Phase 1, Glenridge Estates Phase 3. Some agents will write PH2 for Phase 2. Some agents will write FHASE2. So I want to capture anything that says Glenridge Estates. So I put it in parentheses because that means it's looking for, or underneath the asterisk, it means it's looking for anything that says Glenridge Estates. Then I come in because sometimes neighborhoods have a common name and there may be one in Dallas, there may be one in Fort Worth, there may be a Glenridge Estates up in McKinney. I don't always know. So I want to make sure they're all in the city I'm looking for. So I come into the city and I type in Dallas. Now on the bottom left, I'm always looking at my matches number. So right now I have 44 matches inside of Glenridge Estates in Dallas. That's way too many. I don't need to compare 44 homes. I would go insane and I would be here all night. So now I come over to the right-hand side and we're going to start putting in some criteria to kind of see if we can't find some apples to apples. So I've got an older home. This home was built in 1951. If I came back over on the agent side, I see 1951. So I want to come in and find, let's go ahead and start looking for, I know this neighborhood, I've been down there. This is a neighborhood of about 60% original homes, 40% tear downs. Completely, not just like torn down like to the studs. These are complete demolitions all the way to the dirt and rebuild with a new foundation and a brand new home. Obviously, my home built in 1951, would I want to compare that to a home that was built in 2020? Everyone's shaking their head. No, no, you would not. I agree. We would not want to compare a home built in 2020 to a home built in 1951. So let's kind of give ourselves a range. So 1951, let's maybe go 1945 to 1956. Let's see what we get. I'm down to 28 matches. So that took out about, like I said, in this neighborhood, I know I'm at about 60% original, 40% new builds. That's about right. Out of the 44, I ended up with 28 matches that are built from 45 to 56. So I've got a pretty good range right there of homes in the same year. Now, 28 is still too many. I'm ultimately looking for perfect world 5 homes, maybe 1 active, 1 pending, and 3 solds would be the perfect CMA to me. Nice and easy, not too much data, but enough that I feel confident. Have I advised the seller on a price when I've only got 1 or 2 comps? Absolutely. If they're really good comparables, recent solds that are very similar, then they make a great comparison. I've also, sometimes had to pull 7 or 8 homes to really get a feel. So I'm looking for that magic number though, is 5 to 6 would be perfect. So I've started with year built in subdivision. Now I want to go ahead and let's go for homes that are similar in size. So I go back over to my MLS sheet. I see my square footage is 1329. I'm going to go about 200 square feet on either side. So let's go 1100 to 1550 and see what happens. Now I've got 4 matches. Now I'm feeling like, okay, we just ruled out 24 homes.
But what if none of those matches have actually sold? What if some of those are all active or coming soon?
Then my first thing to do, first I'm going to go check. I go over to results. Let's see.
Okay.
So if I sort by status, I've got 2 actives and 2 solds. So that right there is a good mix. I'm probably going to feel confident. I'm going to check on my map. That's the second thing. I want to make sure they're all in the same area. So my listing is going to be right here on Rochelle Drive, 4006. These are all within the same neighborhood. I'd search by subdivision, but I just still want to make sure that none of them were like across the street from Walnut Hill or across from Midway. So these are all in the neighborhood. All should be good comps. But like Sandra said, let's say that these were all active listings. What would we do? Anybody have an idea what I might do if I had only active listings with my criteria looking like this?
You would change your sold to 0 to 180.
Bingo. That's it. So I'd come in and type in 0 to 180. All of a sudden, now I've got 7 matches. So it added 3 more solds.
Nice.
So I can go into results and I can see now I've got 2 actives and 5 solds. That's a pretty good number right there. You can choose to stick with that, or I might go back to the 90 days. For this situation, I'm going to go back to the 90 days just because we had 2 solds and 2 actives, and I'm going to see if I can't figure a price there. Other things you could do to search. So let's say we still ended up with, maybe we go back to the 180. So I've got the 7 homes. I want to go ahead and start ruling out a few others. Let's see if we can't tighten that criteria. So I'm going to come down to add and remove because I know my home doesn't have a pool. And I'm going to type in pool. Yes, no. Highlight it and hit add. It's going to tell me I can't because I already have it over here. And then I go back and I'm going to scroll down and find pool, yes, no, right here. And I'm going to say no pool. Still got my 7 matches. So all 7 of those homes also have no pool. So that's good. Means I got pretty good comps. I could search by total bass. So if I only wanted homes with just 2 bass, not 1.5, not 2.5, but 2 bass, I now have 5 matches. Now you could say I want homes with 2 or more bass. That's probably going to get me back. Nope, still got my 5. So it means the other homes, the 2 that it took away, they were probably 1 bath homes. So I don't necessarily want those for my comparison. So I've got a group of 5 homes that have all sold in the last 180 days or are actively on the market. They're all within 200 square feet of my subject property. They're all within 5 or 6 years in age of home, and none of them have a pool. That's a pretty good group of listings. So I feel pretty solid on my results. Keep in mind, this works, this agent single line display, when you hit results, it's kind of like an Excel spreadsheet. So you notice I can click on the blue hyperlinked word up here, status. If it's got an area, if it's got that arrow, what it will do is it will sort them. So instead, I like to get them by active down to sold, but if I wanted to see solds on top, I just hit status and it flips it. And now my sold properties are on top. I don't want to see this listing agent full name, so I just click in that box and I hit remove column. I click in listing agent and I remove column. I don't care about the area, so I click in there and I hit remove column. So I'm cleaning it up, making it look nice. So I go over and I look at current price. So I see my 2 actives are at $399 and $450. And then I got a range in my solds. It's a little concerning. I've got one that sold at $290, one that sold at $440, and one that sold at $550. So I got some issues. We got a wide range of prices. It's going to be a little bit tougher of a CMA than a cookie cutter. We're down in Dallas. These are older homes. They're going to be in lots of different conditions. So we've gone and we looked at the previous listing of our listing. We've talked to the seller. I've actually even been to this home, so I've seen it, seen the repairs, the updates. She didn't knock it out. She cleaned it. It's a nice, livable home, but she didn't spend a ton of money on it for one main reason. She knows that there's a 50-50 chance this home, whoever buys it, is going to knock it down. That's what's happening in this neighborhood in Dallas. So there's a good chance whoever buys her home is not going to care about any updates she did, and is really just buying it for that piece of land. But so I come in and we're going to start looking at our listings. So I'm going to pull up Saranac Drive. So it is currently priced at $399. I can tell it was originally priced at $419. So they've had a price reduction. It is like my home. It is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. I'm a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So it's got 1 less bedroom, but that's not going to affect a ton. It was originally built in 1951. I come down. I typically will read the property description. Ideal location in Midway Hollow on Interior Street, east of Lakemont, with access off of Lively and Park Lane. This charming cottage has been extremely well maintained by current owner for over 40 years. It features 2 bedrooms, 2 full baths, a large living room, new windows, expanded and updated kitchen, dining room, and a den that can easily be converted to a 3rd bedroom. Oversized 1-car garage with workshop or storage and a 2-car tandem carport provide ample parking. This is a perfect opportunity for those looking for a move-in ready cottage that can be updated over time, someone wanting a great place to remodel and expand, or for new construction. Notice no survey available. So that's what you do when you don't have a survey. Put it in that private remarks. I'm not surprised that someone that's lived in a home for 40 years does not have an existing survey. So then I want to come in and I want to look at the pictures. Nice big circle driveway, clean hardwoods. You know, older, a little bit dated looking, older tile, older cabinets. it's not all that dissimilar from my current listing. In all honesty, it's pretty similar. So I'm feeling like this is a good comp for my home. We're going to see if we need to make any adjustments. So what's my square footage? 1356. My square footage on my subject property is 1329. That's not a huge difference. So I get my little calculator out. 1356 minus 1329. It's 27 square foot difference. You can make an adjustment for a square footage difference that's small. It shouldn't have a huge effect, so you may not, but let's practice the square footage adjustment and how I do it. So I write down on my little notepad, because I always have a notepad, I write everything down when I do this, so that I can do the math and walk my clients through how I did it. But so I took my bigger property, which was 1356, that's my comparable, and my subject property, 1329, I subtracted it, and so I noticed I've got a difference of 27 square feet. In other words, my subject property is smaller than the home on Saranac that we're comparing it to. So I'm going to make an adjustment. What do you think I'm going to do on an adjustment?
Are you going to take that 27 square feet and multiply it times the square feet price?
Basically, and am I going to subtract it from the value or add it to the value?
Add
I'm
it.
going to add it because it's something my home doesn't have. So we want to pretend like, okay, this home listed under this condition, we're actually going to subtract it out because I want to pretend, what if this home was smaller? What if this home on Saranac Drive was only 1,329 square feet? Then it would sell for a little bit less, right? So I'm going to figure out what the cost for that square footage is, and I'm going to subtract it out of the 399. So Kathy, you kind of hit it spot on. I take that price per square foot. Now myself, I take that price and I cut it in half. So we see up here, it's $294.25. What I do is I divide that number in half because adding additional square footage costs a little less than kind of building the original home. As you continue to get bigger in homes, square footage costs less as it gains in size. So I kind of, as a rule of thumb, take that price per square foot and I divide that number by 2. You can choose to do it right at 294. Like I said, I'm going to take 294 and I divide it by 2. So that gives me a price per square foot for my adjustment of $147. Then I take my difference in square footage, which was 27, and I multiply that. So $147 a square foot for 27 square feet is $3,969. So do I add or subtract that from this $399? I'm trying to figure out, what if this home was actually 27 square feet smaller? How much would it have sold for?
Gonna add.
I'm going to subtract it because
Subtract it.
I'm making this house smaller.
Okay.
So taking away that square footage. I'm taking 27 square feet away from this home. So if I took that away and I'm valuing that at about $4,000, I would take $399 and I would minus $4,000 for square footage. In other words, if this same home was only 1,327 square feet, I think it would sell for $395 if I made that adjustment, that square footage adjustment. Now, then I also want to, what's that?
You're doing it to this, you're subtracting it from this house.
Because I don't.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. Because I have no idea on the price. You know, when we bought the house back in 2014, we bought it for $272. Well, that price is invalid today. So I don't know what the home, my subject property, I'm trying to figure the price out because we're going to put it on the market. So I don't have anything to go off of. What I do have is This home is currently on the market for $399. If it was 1,327 square feet, in other words, if we took that 27 square feet away from it, I think it would sell for about $4,000 less. So I think it would sell for about $395. Then I see, do I need to make any other adjustments? It's got the same amount of bathrooms. It's built in the same year. The only other thing I might adjust for is covered parking. They've got a two carport spots. My home has no carports and only a 2-car garage. This only has a 1-car garage. You know, in homes this age in this area, 2-car garage is probably equivalent to a 1-car garage and 2 carports. There's going to be buyers that would prefer to have a closed off garage for both cars. There's going to be buyers that would prefer to have that third parking spot with a covered parking. So I'm really not going to make any adjustments for that. So this home is a pretty easy comparable for me. It's in very similar condition. It is same year built. It's very similar in square footage, same number of bathrooms, similar parking situation, no pool, 1 story, located. Click on the hyperlink address. It's located pretty close to my home. Last thing I want to check is what's the land value on this home. Make sure I'm in the same ballpark. So I hit the little TX button there. And I can see their assessed land value is $275. I go back over to mine. My assessed land value was $275. So I got a pretty good, don't have to do a lot to comp. If we were to come on the market, do you think this home would be competition for our subject property? I do. I think if I were showing a buyer the home I'm hopefully going to list on Rochelle, I would probably also go ahead and make an appointment to go see this home on Saranac. The only reason I wouldn't is if my client told me they had to have a 3-bedroom, but if I came and read the description, it says and dining room and a den that can easily be converted to a 3rd bedroom. So it could be a 3-bedroom. So if I had a buyer looking for a 3-bed, 2-bath home in this neighborhood, I would show them both homes. And they're very comparable. So I want to make sure our price, if we go on the market, needs to be in line with these guys. But here's one thing I can learn from them. They've been on the market 145 days in a pretty hot market. So I don't know how much I pay attention to their price because they haven't sold. So what that's telling me is that $399 may be a little high. So now I'm thinking, okay, my clients may need to go a little bit below $399. We want to use this home. I want to use it to sell my house. So if I priced my home just using this one comp, what if I priced it at like $375? And you went and saw both homes, all of a sudden my property now looks like a real value because you're going to compare it to this home at $400,000. So this is a good comp. I'm going to hold on to this one. Now we're going to go over to the next one. Lively Lane. It's priced at $450. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, also built in 1951. Quite a bit bigger square footage. This one's 1507. So we're going to do some deductions there. So we'll do that. It's a 2-car garage, just like mine. Let me go ahead and pull up the tax records. Land value is just like mine at $275. Not a whole lot there. So everything so far stacks up other than square footage. It does not have a pool. Now I'm going to come read the description. Great location to build your dream home. An extra wide corner lot in a private residential area near top Dallas schools, shopping, and restaurants. Easy access to Northwest Highway and Dallas North Tollway. Home is currently tenant occupied. In other words, it's a rental home that's got some tenants in it. It has only been on the market 2 days, so it's my freshest competition. So I'm gonna come pull up my pictures. Pretty pictures. I like how they did the kind of dusk twilight photo shoot where you can put those exterior and interior lights on. Kind of makes the house pop a little more.
That's pretty.
Yeah, it is pretty. Some nice built-ins. nice hardwoods.
How come it's not moving? Okay, now you're doing it.
You know, nice upgraded kitchen, kind of like double oven with a really nice Vent-A-Hood there, stainless steel built-in fridge, nice glass cabinets. You know, the condition of this one is a little bit nicer than mine. I really like that garage. That's pretty. It's in a little nicer condition than mine. So we're going to make a deduction for condition. And that's kind of an opinionated thing, but we'll get to that. So let's start off by going back. Everything stacks up basically except condition and square footage. So I need to make an adjustment for both. So let's figure out what my difference in condition is, or my difference in square footage. 1,507 square feet compared to 1,329. So I'm going to do my math. 1,507 minus 1,329. So that's a 178 square foot difference. Then I'm going to figure out how much I'm going to credit it per square foot. So I come back over to this listing. It's listed at $298.61 a square foot. So I take that 298. I don't worry about the cents. 298, and I divide that by 2. That gives me 149. Basically, for every square foot, I'm going to give it $149. So I take my difference in square feet, which was 178, and I multiply that by my difference, or by my price per square foot of 179. So 179 times 149 is going to be $26,522. So my comparable property is bigger in square footage. So I need to figure out what would it sell for if this same home came on the market, but it was 178 square feet smaller. What do I think they would price it? So I know I've got 26,000 is kind of what I want to use. What do I do with that 450? Do I add the 26,000 onto it, or do I take it away?
Take it away.
Exactly.
So you'll be pricing about 423.
Yep. 26,522. So I would take 450 minus 26,522. And that gives me a total of 423,478. Now, I also, like I said, I think the condition of this home is it's not so out of the ballpark that it's insane, but at the same time, it's noticeably nicer. It shows nicer than I think my home is going to show. I know the floor plan of mine's a little funky too, and that may be an issue, but I can tell this one's got a probably funky floor plan as well. These are some funky, F-U-N-K-Y, make sure you're hearing me correctly, funky homes. You know, they're custom built mid-century homes that got a little quirk to them. But so I think the condition of this home is probably about minimum $15,000 nicer. Could be 10,000, could be 20, could be somewhere in between there in terms of updates, those garage doors, the yard's in a little bit nicer condition. So I'm going to give it a $15,000 credit for condition. Now, since the comparable home we've decided is the nicer of the two, what do I need to do with that 15,000? Should I subtract it or add it on to the value?
Add it.
Subtract it.
Subtract it.
I want to make, even though this house is really nice, I want to make it not as nice. I want to pretend like this home was like the home I'm about to list and wasn't as nice. So since my comparable has something that my home doesn't, in other words, that something is its quality, I want to subtract that quality out of it and pretend it was equal to my house. Just like with the square footage, this home has 178 square feet that my home doesn't have. So I want to take that 178 feet away. I want to take away from this comparable home anything that it has that my home doesn't. Does that make sense?
Okay, so let me ask this question. So you've taken away the square footage, and I understand that. And you're saying that since this house looks nicer, but your house doesn't look as nice, you're also going to take away 15 more grand because it looks nicer, and you want to basically give it to your house.
Exactly, because I'm not writing an offer on this house. I'm trying to use this as a barometer for where should I price my house. And so I can't, my seller's not going to update her house. We're going to list it as it is. So she could update it and put 15,000 in, and then we would be equal to this house. But since she's not going to, I need to subtract that out of their value.
Will that work? I mean, if you're doing a comparative market analysis, and let's say we get a buyer, and your buyer is fluent to knowing how to buy a house and knowing what you're doing. Is a buyer really going to buy that?
Well, let's put it this way. Let's say I don't make a deduction for condition, and we've done the square footage reduction on this home, and we came out to like 423. So we listed it at 425. Would you buy it at 425 when it's not as nice as a home that $25,000 more, you get an extra 178 square feet and a much better condition?
I wouldn't buy your home. I'll go over to the other house.
Exactly. So I got to subtract that out. I'm not changing their list price. They're still going to be listed at 450. I'm using their list price as a way to figure out what should I be on the market for. So I'm taking 25,000 basically off because of the fact that my home is going to be smaller. So if I were to just list and we were in the exact same condition, I would list at 425. But because this home is nicer, I'm also going to subtract out some of the value that they've added in for those upgrades. They've come to their price by looking at their upgrades and saying that's why we're worth 450. Well, I don't have those upgrades, so I can't add that value in. So I got to take it away. I've determined it's about $15,000 in upgrades. So I'm going to subtract that out of the list price. Let's say this home on Lively Lane was a 3-bath. So it's got an extra bath that I don't have on the home I'm about to list. I would then have to subtract that bathroom out. So I would say a bathroom is worth about $5,000 worth of credit. Well, I want to pretend, what if this home on Lively Lane didn't have that bathroom? So I subtract that value out. So you're saying this home has stuff that my home that I'm about to list doesn't have. I need to subtract those things away.
Okay.
And so because this home is in better condition, I'm going to take $15,000 out. So we came up with the price for the square footage was 26,522. And then the adjustment for the condition is about 15,000. So I take their original or their list price of 450. I subtract out the difference in square footage. So 26,522. And then I subtract out the $15,000 for upgrades. That tells me if I were to list my home in the same condition as these guys, I would list for somewhere around 408,000. So the first home, when we comped it, we came out to about 395,000. The second home, when we comped it, we came out to, we would list at about 408,000. So I'm kind of starting to notice a trend. I'm right around the same area. I'm right around 400,000. But I also know that these are active listings. So I want to pay a little bit more attention to the solds. So I know we're past 12. If you guys got a little time, we'll do one sold property and then we will call it a day. So I go back to my agent single line display. Now I see this one that sold at 290. I'm probably not going to comp it. I'm going to go in and I'm going to look at it. I can tell by the first picture what I'm looking at. No interior pictures. Buy the land, build your $1 million home in Glenridge Estates, sold as is. Seller will not make repairs. Amazing Northwest Dallas location, located near Walton Hill and Marsh Lane. In other words, I can tell by just reading the description when the first 3 words are buy the land, they're saying this house is pretty much in tear down shape. I'm not even going to use this as a comp because this is just a non-comparable sell. Because this is basically, we're not selling you a home, we're selling you land. We can pull up their land value and see they're probably also 275,000. They're at 280,000. They sold this home for 290,000. They sold this as a lot. This was a lot. So what I do is I go back to agent single line display. I select that one. I go to refine and I just kick it out. That's not a comp I can use. It's not comparable. There's no point in using it. So that gets me to Ontario Lane. So I click on it. So it was originally listed at 445. I always like to come down and see it's sold for 440. And it was only on the market 11 days. Not bad. Now I come in and I read the description. Adorable and updated 3-bed, 2-bath home. Sits on beautiful treed lot in Midway Hollow. Walking distance to school and short distance to shopping and restaurants. Functional floor plan with open living and dining rooms. Tray ceilings, fireplace and doors opening to the deck and private, fully fenced yard. Updated kitchen with granite countertops, stainless steel appliances. Generous cabinet space and pantry opens to the deck and provides great outside entertaining. True master bedroom with walk-in closet. 2 other bedrooms with shared hall bath and laundry. Provides space for all. Hardwood floors and plantation shutters. Auto iron gate, 2-car garage, and several recent improvements. BOM, no fault of the house. BOM, anybody got a guess what that means?
Bring your own money.
Not a bad guess. Not a bad guess. It means back on market, but I like bring your own money. That works just as well. But yeah, back on market means that it, maybe the buyer, original buyer, their financing fell through. So let's come up and look. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, just like ours. It's 1350 square footage. We're 1329, so there's almost no difference there. Maybe a couple $1,000, probably not worth worrying about. It does not have a pool. We don't have a pool. It's a 2-car garage. We're a 2-car garage.
Now, they say pools don't bring value to the home. But if it had a pool, what would you comp it for?
It depends. Is it a pool built in 1970? Then it almost at that point could be a negative. If they had the pool put in 2015 and did a, outdoor kitchen, then we could be looking at 15, 20,000 worth of value.
Okay.
And I am in the process of trying to work with some folks to come up with a sheet that will show you adjustment prices. In other words, if you need to make an adjustment for a bathroom on a home price, 400 to 600,000, here's how much you should credit. Right now, I'm kind of going with my best guesstimates. I'm trying to come up with a guide to help us all. I'm working on hopefully having that by next week, but I'm not having luck getting anybody to help with it. But so on a statistical level, this home is very similar. Let's go pull up my tax records, make sure my land value is in line. Once again, 275, so my land value is good. So really what I'm going to be looking at is condition because it's adorable and updated. I know it sold for 440 and was on the market for 11 days. The home that was very comparable, that first comp we looked at, it's been on the market 145 days and has not sold. So let's go in and see why this one sold. Pretty front entrance. Love the bold color on the front door. Makes that gray pops from it.
Picture's not moving.
Mine didn't?
Yeah, now it's moving now.
Okay. May just be running a little slow. Pretty living area. Nice plantation shutters. Nice hearth on the fireplace. Nice little seat. Nice dining area. Nice French doors. Knock down that wall in between the kitchen. I like that. Kind of opens it up a little bit more. Nice recessed lighting. Nice double wide pantry. Not a ton of cabinet space, nor is my home. Really pretty plantation shutters, beautiful wood floors, moderately updated bathroom. Nice granite in this bathroom, a little more updated than mine. Beautiful backyard. Love that patio. So I'd say they've got probably inside the home, probably $20,000 worth of updates that my client doesn't have. And then I add that backyard, probably another 5,000. So it's probably at least $25,000 in updates that they have that my client does not. So what I would do, am I going to add that or subtract that from this home? I think this home is nicer.
Subtract it.
Bingo, you're getting it. It's got something I don't have, so I want to take it away from it because I want to bring them down to my level. Normally we don't want to go to somebody else's level. When in comping, I want them all on my level. I'm gonna bring them down with me, baby. So I would take that 445. The only adjustment I see making on this house would be for condition and updates. And I'm saying about 25,000. So if we took that 445 and we subtracted out 25,000, that leaves us with a price of 420,000. Now let's just do that last one just for fun. Y'all got to get off. I get it. It's been a long morning on classes. I appreciate y'all hanging in with me. So let's take a look at this Park Lane one. I'm interested to see this one because it was listed at 539.9 and it ended up selling at 550 on 2 days on the market.
Wow.
This may be a tough comp because it may be completely updated and basically knock it out, in which case it's not going to be a great comp, but let's take a look. 3 beds, 2 baths, 2-car garage, built in 1952. So I'm pretty much, other than square footage is 1519. So that's a little bit of a difference. 1519 minus 1329. We'll do that here in a second. It's a 2-car garage with no pool, just like mine. Let's check my tax records. 275. So really no difference. They're all worth $275,000. It's awesome that some people have land that's worth more than the damn home I live in. Beautiful drive up on this ranch style home situated on a treat lot on Park Lane in Midway Hollow. Open flow from the living room, dining, and kitchen with a view of the backyard. Hardwood flooring throughout this adorable 3-bedroom pier and beam brick home with a cozy fireplace. Recently added office space with views of the beautiful backyard. Gourmet kitchen has been updated with granite, a spacious island, gas range, and farm sink. Owner's suite has lots of natural light, frameless shower, and new toilet. All baths have been updated. Backyard oasis is lined with mature trees and a relaxing deck for entertaining or dining al fresco. 2-car garage with electric washer, dryer, wine refrigerator, kitchen refrigerator, and all TV. Or 2-car garage with electric gate for security, kids play. All new windows, plumbing, and tankless water heater. So this is pretty much a completely redone home. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that kitchen. You guys seeing that kitchen?
Oh, yeah.
A little bit different than the other ones we've been looking at, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that panoramic window there. Nice little office.
That TV was huge.
Yeah, it was. It looked like it was like a double wide TV.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that kitchen's nice. I mean, they've knocked walls down where the other ones, you know, we just painted it, made it look nice. This one, they've knocked it out. That's a pretty bathroom. I like the white. Nice new updated shower. Beautiful backyard. Love the trees. Nice deck. Additional office space they've added on. Like they said, the security gate over on the left side of the house that gives you a little bit more backyard access. This one's going to be a little bit of a tough comp because, I mean, that could be $50,000 worth of updates. And that can be $50,000 to $75,000 worth of updates, especially once you start knocking down walls. But let's figure out the square footage. So 1519 minus my square footage of 1329 means this home is bigger by 190 feet. So since this home has 190 square feet, mine doesn't, am I going to add or subtract the value out?
We're gonna
Subtract.
Boom, y'all getting it? We're going to take that price per square foot, damn, 355 divided by 2. That's 177 a square foot. So if we took 177 a square foot, multiplied it by our difference in square feet, 190, that's 33,000.
Woo.
Wow.
That's a difference, you know, that additional square footage at that price per square foot, that's pretty significant. And then I'm saying at least on the conservative side, $50,000 in updates and repairs, minimum. So am I going to subtract or add those two numbers onto that price of 540?
Gonna subtract it.
Damn straight I am. So let's, and I do not use the list price. I use the sales price. They sold that for $550. That's $11,000 difference. But you want to use the sales price since you have it. So we take 550,000 and go ahead and subtract the 50,000 for updates. And then I subtract the $33,630 for square footage. That leaves me at 466, 370. And like I said, I'm probably being extremely conservative on those updates. I could see easily taking 75 or more $1,000 off. If we did it at 77,000, 46, that would put us at 441. Probably a little more reasonable. Instead of 50, I'd take 75,000. So at that point, so we've kind of comped all four. Looking at my two actives, I came up with a price of $395 and $408. Looking at my two solds, I came up with a price of $420 and $441. You know, this is that's tough. Very rarely are my actives below my solds. Normally my actives are priced higher than the solds, and that's why they're active. A lot is coming to condition. You know, this is a home that somebody is selling to move into the home. This first active is a 50-50 chance this thing's getting torn down, 50-50 chance it's getting renovated. That's probably in line with my property. The fact that they haven't gotten under contract in 145 days is a little worrisome to me. I'm going to look at the history here. And I'm going to see they originally came on the market on the 17th of July for $419,000. They didn't wait long. Within a week, they reduced it to $405. And then they waited about 3 months and came back in October and took it to $399. What concerns me is that it still hadn't sold, but they also started off overpriced. And so now they've gotten a stigma. You see a home with 145 days. If I'm showing a buyer, we're wondering what the hell's wrong with it. And I don't know. I haven't seen this home. It may be funky as hell. So I'm going to go preview it before I go meet with my seller. I can tell you that. I want to know why it hadn't sold at 400. Because that's kind of where I'm starting to think I might want to suggest listing on my property. So this one's 450. It's, you know, quite a bit nicer. It's a corner lot, really nice. Well updated, pretty on the inside. You know, they didn't knock it out. That's a clean home. And they're priced at 450, but only 2 days on the market. Then I go to my solds and I can see, you know, this one we comped out to about 420. And it's quite a bit nicer. And then this fourth home, you know, we comped it sold at 550. We comped it out to 441. The two solds are showing me I could probably sell for over 400. My biggest concern is the one home that hasn't sold and is at 400. And so I'd really want to go preview that home before I went and met with the seller to get a good feel and understand maybe why that home hasn't sold. Know that I've got active competition over there on Lively Lane, that almost any buyer is going to go look at both those homes as well as mine. How do we stack up? So I'd probably preview that one as well. But I'm leaning towards, if my client wanted top dollar, could I see potentially listing it like 425? Possibly. That would be the highest I would probably go. More likely, I would encourage this buyer, if they wanted a quick contract, she's already moved into her other home, she doesn't want to own two homes, I would probably suggest she price it at 400. I think we'll stack up okay compared to the other one on Saranac. I think we look like a value compared to the home on Lively. And then I can point sellers to two recent comps in the area and show them where the value is. So I can explain to a potential buyer by using that listing at 4125 Park Lane and show them, hey, you put in 50 to 75, you get this home for $400,000 that I'm about to list. You put in $75,000 worth of upgrades, you can probably sell it for a nice little profit. There's an opportunity to flip that house and put it in the condition that Park Lane's in and sell that home for closer to 550. But right now it's not in that condition. So I'm thinking when I go meet with this seller in the next day or so, I'm going to probably, she knows her neighborhood well. She'll have a good idea on price. She told me when I talked to her last 375 to 425. So she's pretty spot on. I could see listing it. If she told me I needed it under contract tomorrow, 375. And we will probably have a buyer in a week. 400, I'm probably going to expect in the first month to get a contract, but maybe not day one. If I price it at 425, I have a feeling we're going to sit on the market for a minute. So that's kind of the rough and dirty of a CMA. Last thing I do is once I'm ready to go with it, I select all these and I come over and I hit Cloud CMA. And I've got client's name. I'm gonna enter address. Shell Drive. It is 1329 square footage. Oh, it knew it. It took it from the taxes. 3 beds, 2 baths. It's a residential. And it takes those MLS listings and automatically puts them down here. And I just hit fetch listings. And I've got these 4 listings. I like to put them in order of actives to solds. So we did Lively second, Saranac first, Ontario and Park Lane. So this is in the same order. I come in and I'll put the adjustments. So for that first home, we made a square footage adjustment. And we did it for basically $4,000 that we subtracted. Because remember, this home had more square footage. So watch, it's going to take this adjusted price right here at $399. I hit update. And it should have adjusted up. Hit save. Now it adjusted that price to $395. I come down to Lively Lane. Updates. I think we did 25,000. No, we did, I think 15,000 for this one. Hit save and it will adjust that price, and then square footage. We decided on this one was 26,000 minus 26,522. Up, and I got to come back up here, and that's a minus. Save and updates. minus 15,000. Don't forget those minuses. That got me to the value of 408. Ontario Lane, this was the one we didn't really make a square footage adjustment. For that one, we basically just did updates at 25,000.
Minus.
Good call, thank you. Hit save, adjusted that value, and then this one, we did square footage minus 33,630. Save, and then we did updates at 75,000. Minus 75,000. So now over on the right-hand side, it gives me my summary. I've got 2 active listings, 2 solds, low of 399, median 445, average 459, and a high of 550. I hit customize report. So on the right-hand side, this is what's going to be in mine. Title page. What is a CMA? You can preview it. Click the little I. Just kind of explains the process of a CMA. Map of all listings. Summary of comparable properties. The listings chapter. So each listing will have all the details, the photos, all the rest of the photos, and the adjustments I made. And then I've added the sold property analysis. You can come over on this left-hand side and add any of this stuff in. Analysis, comparable property statistics, online valuation, suggested list price, seller's net sheet, bunch of stuff about closing, bunch of stuff about guidance, and then you can add testimonials if you wanted. But I keep it short and basic because I also bring my listing presentation that I made in Command. You hit publish report, and now you've got a CMA ready to present. I will show you guys real quick what that looks like, and then y'all are definitely good to go. So I can view the PDF right here. This is what I will print and bring to the client. So it shows them where their house is, tells them what a CMA is, shows them, you know, puts her house in purple and shows me where these other listings are so that we can make sure they're close by. Gives me a summary of the active and the solds. And then each listing we'll have 2 pages on the front with the basic stats of the home. And then all the other pictures on the next pages so that my client can get a good feel for these homes. Then it walks through the price adjustments we made so that I can help remind myself when I'm going over this with the client, kind of what we did and why we did it. And so that's why I do the math myself, because I want to explain how the heck I came up with what the heck I came up with. So that is a rough and dirty CMA right there.
And do you let them keep this?
What's that?
Do you let them keep this?
I do. I know a lot of agents that do not. For fear that maybe a for sale by owner is wanting to meet with you and get a price, and then they're going to use it. Well, if they knew they were going to list it for sale by owner, then they're going to remember what price I suggest. So it's not so top secret. I'm afraid to leave it. I know agents that will not leave this or their listing presentation ever. I will leave both. I tend to, a lot of my listings are warm referrals like this one that's a past client. So I've got a built up trust with these people. I know they're not going to do anything to maliciously use this data against me or anything. So I have no fear in ever leaving it. Even if I just met them for the first time, that's just me. I'm probably overly trustworthy and overly optimistic about people. I just haven't been burned bad enough to change my mind on that. So
And that's a good thing.
it is. And I'm 12 years in and I've yet to get, so burned by somebody that I'm like, oh, all my clients suck. So hopefully you will get that same experience as your careers go, that you learn that not everybody is out to screw you. Almost everybody I work with has good intentions, wants to do the right thing. So I've been fortunate in that regard. So what questions can I ask before we call it a day? I'm gonna go drink some warm tea so my voice may come back.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Thank y'all. I know this was a
appreciate it.
long day, a lot to do with contracts and CMAs. Did talk to Miss Christine. Basically, class tomorrow is going to be picking up on page 4, going through that contract. So you'll probably do that all morning. I'll join you guys for the first 2 minutes on the Zoom, and then I will turn the room over to her. Otherwise, you guys have an amazing afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
y'all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.